are you right now, Carolyn? I went out to get a few things. I haven't quite gotten everything on my list, so we're just getting the last couple things that are missing. What's up? Do you have everything ready for our trip tomorrow? I have just spoken with Daniel and Andrew, and they're both still not done. I'm actually out picking up the last few things we need. Daniel actually decided to come along with me since he lives fairly close by. He wanted to talk to me about something about his work. I'm glad you thought to include him. He could stand to get out of the house. He did seem rather eager to join, even if he doesn't really need anything. His job seems really stressful, and he seems like he's looking for a change. And I thought that maybe me or my dad could help him. Either way, we've had a good time talking about the trip as well. I'm looking forward to it. We're just about done here. I'll be heading home soon. Good. Be sure we have enough for a week. The cabin in the mountains is fairly far from the city, so we should bring as much as we can so we can minimize the time we spend driving into town. Of course. If anything, I have overbought a bit. It should be more than enough. We'll be doing quite a bit of hiking, so I hope you have comfortable shoes. Don't worry, I just broke in a new pair of hiking boots. I'm a pretty experienced hiker, so I'm getting ready for anything you might throw at me. Good. I'm really looking forward to it. All the pictures of the cabin Andrew showed me make it look so beautiful. It looks like a photo out of a home design magazine. I'm sure the stars will be striking out in the woods like that. Have you and George stayed there before? This will be the third time, actually. We've stayed a couple of times previously a few years back. The owner of the cabin is an old friend of my father's from school. It must be nice if you've gone a few times already. I'm so excited I'm going to finish packing the moment I get home. Be sure not to overpack. You might have to haul your suitcase much farther than you might expect. Hi, Robin. I'm sorry to bug you. I just can't quite figure out where you all went. I think I might have gotten a little turned around. I already asked Andrew, but he doesn't really seem to know that well either. And he went ahead with you and Daniel and George. We've already gone back up the mountain without you. We happened to come across the owner and he took us back in his car. So I suppose you'll just have to find your own way back. Why did you leave me behind? You were taking too long looking at souvenirs in the gift shop, so we decided to go on ahead. I told you we were leaving. I was just about done with everything. I was checking out when you told me you were going. It wasn't going to take me more than 5 minutes to finish. You could have asked him to wait. You should have thought of that earlier. You are starting to become a nuisance. And now you're becoming even more of a bother by getting lost in the mountains. We'll have to send a search party after you at this rate. It's just like you, a poor useless woman, to do this to us. If something happens, it will cause us so much trouble. You do know there are bears in the mountains around here, yes? You better find your way back before one of them makes you his dinner. Did you leave me behind on purpose? I may have done that. Why are you singling me out like this? Because you annoy me. And you're not the kind of woman I wanted for my son. You're so much older than him. He could have found someone much younger and prettier, and you tricked him into marrying you somehow. I didn't trick him at all. He was aware of my age from the very beginning, and he never seemed to have a problem with it at any point in our relationship. He was the one who pursued me, actually. I wasn't all that interested at first, but he initiated the relationship. Like I'd believe that. You're the same age as my oldest son, and yet you married my youngest. Isn't that strange to you? You married your classmate's younger brother. I suppose it is a little odd. But I didn't meet Andrew until well after we had both graduated. The age difference isn't that strange at our age. If anything, it's fairly normal these days. Aren't you older than George? That's irrelevant. And we were still in the same year in school. I guess things were a little different back when you got married. And you did get married much younger than we did. But I really don't see what the problem is. Times have changed, and our relationship is much different than yours was. It still raises plenty of questions. Many of my friends have given me strange looks when I have to explain to them how you met. How we met? I mean, I suppose we did meet online. Or, well, connected. I did know him when he was younger, but only because I knew Daniel. And I wasn't really friends with him or Daniel when I was younger. Either way, it's inappropriate. It reflects poorly on our family for my son to have married a cougar like you. Cougar? I'm only 4 years older than he is. And I'm only 30. I'm hardly a cougar. All that aside, it doesn't excuse how you leech off him. You spend all your day at home barely doing anything. That's not true at all. I work just as much as he does, if not more. I doubt that. He tells me that you leave the house a few days a week at best for maybe a couple of hours. And the rest of the time you lock yourself inside and stare at your computer all day. It hardly sounds like work to me. All of those times I leave the house are for meetings or other things I have to do for my job. And the rest of the time I am generally doing other work-related things, or making phone calls to clients. I do have quite a lot to manage in addition to my clients as well. What exactly is it that you do that keeps you so busy then? Well, I work from home a lot. There's plenty to do, I assure you. Why do you only leave the house a few times a week? I'm a home care nurse. I visit my clients regularly to check in on them and make sure they're getting their proper medications. But it's only an occasional thing. Most of my clients are fairly independent, but they need someone to monitor their condition and ensure that everything is going well. So I generally go over once a week or so to check in on them, or sometimes more if something happens or if they're traveling or the like. I've never heard of any nurse like that. Admittedly, there aren't many nurses that do what I do. Most work in more long-term or regular positions. I really only tend to a few clients I've had longer term when I worked more regularly. My current clients are mostly people I've worked with for years that I've kept on as a favor to them. Something about this doesn't add up to me. I very much doubt you're telling me the whole truth. And even if you are, I imagine you hardly make any money doing whatever it is you do. You clearly have no work ethic. All you do is laze around and goof off. Hardly. My work is far from easy. I have quite a lot to juggle, even beyond my nursing work, which is hard enough as it is. Not to mention that I do quite a bit at home aside from my job. Andrew helps with the housework, but much of it falls on me since he tends to be in the office much of the week. So if anything, I end up doing double in a lot of ways, which is already quite a lot considering what I do. None of this sounds very difficult to me. What it sounds like to me is that you're living a life of luxury, lounging around at home like a princess while my son works 50-hour weeks. You're just a good-for-nothing leech preying on my poor Andrew. I would tell you you have it all wrong, but you seem fairly insistent that you know better than what I'm telling you. So I suppose I should ask what you would rather have me do? It sounds like you don't want us to move in with you anymore. Well, aren't you just moving in because you can't afford to live on your own? I bet you trapped him in a marriage just so you could have some place to sleep and so you could take advantage of our generosity. My understanding was that you requested that we live together in the first place. Andrew said you were lonely and wanted us to move in since the house felt so empty with just you and George. I actually wanted to stay in our old place, but he was insistent and I agreed for his sake and yours. I may have asked him to move in, but I'm sure Andrew is the lonely one now. He works so long and hard and sees nothing for it from you. All you do is take advantage of him. I'm sure we'd all feel much better with you out of the picture. Do you really feel that way? It doesn't seem like Andrew does, at least. But I didn't realize I was such a problem for you. I was under the impression that you were the one who wanted us to move in with you. And the only reason I thought we were staying is because you wanted us to. I didn't think you were so opposed to us living with you. All I was trying to do was prevent Andrew from living in whatever dirty rundown hovel you were running. I've heard how much of a miser you can be. Didn't you used to live in that horrible condo? I did live in a bit of a rough part of town when we first met, but I was finishing nursing school at the time. I was working and going to school and was trying to save some money for a business while doing all of this. So I had to economize to make it through. But I was living in a much nicer place by the time we got engaged. And things are much, much better off now. Our place before we moved in with you was quite nice, if I do say so. Andrew never had any complaints. I wish you would have come and visited. I'm making much more than I was back in nursing school, after all. Quite a bit more, in fact. Well, if that's the case, then you should be able to find a way to get back on your own. We'll be leaving soon, but you'll need to find your own way back. I hope you can figure it out. Maybe you can find some sort of leech farm out here that will take you in. Did you leave the house at all today, Carolyn? I haven't seen you do anything at all today. What about that job of yours? I actually just left a client's house a few minutes ago. It wasn't my usual day, but his family was taking him home with them for a visit, so I needed to go check in on him to make sure everything was ready for them to take him. I'll be home before dinner. I have some things prepared already. If you're hungry, feel free to start things before I get home. I can wait. What I'm more interested in is how you've been acting towards me the past few days. You've been giving me these cold stares whenever I talk to you. It is making me uncomfortable. You know the reason. You know, speaking of, how did you manage to get back? I saw you drive up in some unfamiliar car when you got home. That was your friend, the owner of the cabin. He saw me walking back up the road as he was going to check on the cabin and offered to give me a ride back into town. I insisted he drop me there and that I'd take a bus back, but he was kind enough to drive me all the way back. You're quite the lucky girl. I'm sure you told him some sob story that convinced him to bring you all the way back. No, I just explained the situation to him, and he was sympathetic. He seemed surprised that you would abandon me like that. Though actually not all that surprised. He said he could picture you doing something like that. I very much doubt that. He and I have always gotten along quite well. It doesn't seem like that to me. From what I can tell, he tolerated you because he was such good friends with your father. But that's just my opinion. You're spouting nonsense. I bet you just charmed him with that sad-eyed look of yours. I can tell you use your looks to manipulate men. Though I doubt it convinces many men these days, with how old you are. You really seem fixated on my age. It's a little strange if I'm being honest. Why shouldn't I be? When I was your age, I already had a real family. Daniel was already 2 years old and I was pregnant with Andrew. You haven't even managed to strike out on your own. Andrew won't wait around forever, you know. He'll want children eventually, and time is swiftly running out. Not to mention, I expect grandchildren while I am still young enough to enjoy them. Andrew and I have discussed it, and we've both agreed we'd rather wait until we feel more confident that we have a stable situation before we have kids. He's still too busy to be present, and my schedule is too unpredictable. I know there are some risks associated with pregnancy in your 30s, but I'm willing to accept that. And Andrew is good with it too. If anything, I was the one who wanted to start a family earlier, but he insisted that we wait until we're more settled. That seems like a very convenient excuse. If you make it about Andrew, then you think I won't push back. It won't work. I'm just telling you what he said. I'm not trying to deceive you or anything. I just thought you should know how I actually feel. Then if that's how you actually feel, why haven't you tried to start a family yet? Daniel's wife has already had one child and she's 2 years younger than you. I'm not sure how much longer you can wait. I'm sure it'll happen when the time is right. We'll have a wonderful child when I'm ready. When? Seems to be more of an if, don't you think? Especially at your age. I really don't want to discuss this with you anymore. If you don't believe me, I'm not sure I can do anything to convince you. I doubt you can either. Anyway, I'm nearly home. If you'd like, I can go to the store and get some steaks for dinner. I have some things ready that we can eat with them. And you seem like you could use a nice dinner. Are you really going to go shopping? I'm surprised you're even bothering. But that will be fine. Well, in that case, I'll stop off at the store on my way home. Do you have a minute to talk? I have something I need to tell you about. Shouldn't you be working right now? I am working. In fact, I have been the entire day. Though I suppose you haven't noticed. But I have a bit of a break between meetings and clients right now, so I thought I'd take the time to talk to you now. Fine. What is it? Andrew and I are planning to move out next month. He and I have been looking at houses, and we think we found one we like enough to buy. Next month? Isn't that a little soon? And you're going to be leaving me and George all on our own. Wasn't it you who said you'd rather have me leave? I suppose I did say that. But I definitely don't want you dragging Andrew into some dirty apartment filled with rats and cockroaches. What I wanted is for you to move out on your own. Well, that was never going to happen. I would think you would know your own son well enough to know that he has no interest in leaving me or having me move out alone. I'm sure it's because you've got him trapped somehow. Whatever you say. So, what's the plan? Are you tricking him into moving into some ratty apartment by the docks? It's not a ratty apartment. We bought a beautiful house by the river, actually. There's no way you could afford a house by the river. You must be lying. That or you took out some shady loan. I can't imagine any bank would give you enough money for that. No, we actually managed to pay for it in cash. It's a little bit humble, especially considering the area, but we own it outright. The only debt we have is from the car that Andrew bought before we got married. But we have that nearly paid off as well. Did you really buy it all in cash? Each lie is more transparent than the last. How do you have enough money for that? I do fairly well in my job. It's a very specialized field in high demand, and I have quite a few clients who are rather moneyed themselves. So they pay handsomely for my services. And I have a little bit of money saved away from some of my other work, though most of what I put into the house is from my nursing work. I very much doubt that. There's no way a nurse gets paid enough to afford to buy a house in cash. And you barely work as it is. You're home more than you're at work. And you can't be a nurse on a computer. I have my ways, though I doubt you'd believe me no matter what I say. You're right about that, at least. Oh, and there is one other thing before I forget. Don't just ignore me and move on to something else. You still haven't explained yourself. We can talk about whatever other concerns you have later. I think you'll want to know what I have to tell you. Your son got let go from his job. What? Don't worry, it's not Andrew. It's Daniel. He was saying that there were some layoffs at his work, and he was one of the ones that got let go. Or maybe not layoffs, restructuring. Actual restructuring, not restructuring like they tell you when they're just cutting your job. He's staying on until the end of the month, but he won't be working at his current job starting the 1st. How do you even know about this? I bet you're just making things up like you always do. I'm not making up anything. I heard it from Daniel himself. We went to dinner with him the other day and he told us about it. He asked us to tell you since he didn't want things to be awkward. He knew you might react badly. Why would I react badly? Well, he might have ended up getting laid off, but he was actually planning on changing jobs anyway. But the new job is going to be based in Singapore with a new company he's helping to set up. And he's probably going to have to move. He's going to be moving to Singapore? It's going to be quite a nice job with pretty nice pay, all things considered. He'll even have his apartment paid for as part of it. He's picked it out himself. It sounds like it's going to be quite deluxe accommodations, too. Right in the middle of the city, overlooking the ocean. I was surprised he managed to find something so nice with his budget, but he did. He did seem to be a little worried to be moving his kids halfway across the world when they're so young. But it seems like it's better to do it now before they get too old. You're just trying to mess with me, aren't you? I promise, all of this is true. There's no way! I don't believe any of it. How did he manage all of this? Well, he did have a little help. From who? My father. Did you not know? My father is the head of a major trading company. I'm sure you met at the wedding, but I guess you've never spoken with him much. But he helped Daniel find this new job. It's with a firm that he does quite a bit of business with, so they were quite happy to take care of Daniel at my father's recommendation. Do you really think you're going to make me believe that your father really runs a company like that? He was just some sort of salesman. He sells medical supplies or something, right? Yes, but he does it in huge quantities on an international scale. Surely he told you about it. I know he gives his business card to just about everyone he meets. I don't remember him mentioning anything about this. I know I would have remembered if he had said. Well, I'm sure he did. Maybe you've just forgotten. I'm sure I didn't forget. Well, then do you remember what my job is? You're a nurse. That's all you've talked about. Well, yes, I am a practicing nurse, but that is not my main job. I do that on the side to maintain my license, and because I enjoy working with the elderly. I'm actually the owner of a medical supply company, who sells specifically to nurses, and the company Daniel is working for is mine. My father had to restructure his company due to some changes in how they were handling the domestic market, and he sold part of his business to me, which is how Daniel ended up working for my company instead. It's a small world, isn't it? It's sort of a coincidence that this is how it worked out. I didn't even realize Daniel was working for my father. And he didn't know who he was either. But it all worked out great. It didn't work out great at all! You're taking both of my sons from me! First you marry my poor Andrew like a predatory cougar, and then you whisk my Daniel and his family off to Singapore! I didn't really do that much. The Singapore expansion is actually Daniel's idea. He was pitching it to my father before the restructuring, but my father decided they couldn't handle it and handed it off to me instead. It's actually something of a joint venture. The company will be subsidiary under my company, but my father has agreed to invest in it as well. So we actually all win in the end. I get to expand my business overseas, my father gets to focus more on domestic work while still having some international business, and Daniel gets to follow his dream of working overseas. He was telling me that he's been looking to move overseas for quite a while now. I wonder why he never told you. Maybe because he was afraid you'd react poorly? Like this? I have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. I'm reacting perfectly reasonably. You seem rather upset to me. This is just my opinion, but I think you should be proud of your son. He's doing something rather bold by moving to Singapore to start what is effectively a brand new business. Even with all the support of my company, he's still going to face a lot of challenges. You had to have tricked him somehow. This must be some kind of trap. I know my son. He would have mentioned this to me before. Maybe he did. You seem rather eager to ignore or dismiss any information that you don't want to hear. You're lying again! You must be lying through your teeth. You can ask him yourself if you really don't believe me. He won't tell you anything different than what I have. You must be some sort of witch, charming both of my sons into leaving me. I'm no witch. I'm just your daughter-in-law. And I'm also a successful businesswoman. And a nurse. I care about my clients, my family, and my work. How much are you making doing all of this? I knew you were lying about the nursing thing paying enough for a house. Actually, I did afford it with just my nursing income. Of course, the money I make from the company helped offset some costs. But I keep that money separate, and I try my best to reinvest what I can into the company. How much do you make then? Taken all together? Oh, probably $800K. Though in reality, it's much less. My nursing practice earns me a comfortable 6 figures, though not much more than that. The rest of my money is invested in my corporation. It isn't really mine. And I also make sure I pay my fair share of taxes, which does eat into that total a bit. What? You must be a millionaire! I suppose my net worth is a few million, though I'm not terribly concerned with that. I'd rather help people with my money than hoard it. If you're making that much, then your father must make 10 times that! To be honest, I don't really know how much he's making. He does make a bit more than I do, though. Why would you even marry Andrew if you make that much? He's just a normal man with a boring office job. You could marry anyone you wanted with that kind of money. I married him because I love him. Why else would I marry him? I'd rather marry someone I love than marry someone who cares only about my money. Anyway, that's all I really have to say on the matter. Wait, I'm not done with you. Are you trying to take my sons away from me? Why are you doing this to me? I'm not doing anything. I'm just helping your sons do what they want to do. None of this was my idea. Andrew wanted to move. Daniel came to me about moving to Singapore. Any issues you're having with them is between you and them. Either way, I am on my way home. I'll be making dinner tonight if there is anything you want me to make. I'll see you this evening. We just finished moving everything into our new house. Our view of the river is quite beautiful, I have to say. So, you and Andrew really did move out after all. Did you think we were lying? I guess I thought it all seemed like it wasn't true. Well, it is. And Daniel will be headed to Singapore in about a week. You've stolen both of my boys from me. Are we really doing this again? We are! Because you won't accept what you've done! You tempted Andrew away with your money, and then you shipped Daniel off to Singapore! You stole them both from me! Daniel is just starting a new job, and he's going to Singapore because he wants to. He's not going to be any less close to you unless you drive him away. Sure, he'll be in another country, but he's not going away forever. I'm sure you'll still talk to him plenty. You're the reason all of this is happening. You're a horrible witch. You're making Andrew leave me. You're the one who wanted us to move out. Or me, at the very least. If you wanted Andrew to stay, maybe you should have been nicer to me. If you hadn't suggested I leave, we may never have bought a house. You're awful. You're out to get me. I know it. You seem like the one who's out to get me. Or did you already forget when you tried to abandon me in the mountains? I still haven't told Andrew about what you did for his sake. I just told him I had gone back to the cabin because I was worried we had left something behind and that I had worked out the thing with the owner in advance. I think if he knew what really happened, he might not talk to you. And I don't want him to be mad at you, because I know he'd be heartbroken. You were trying to drive me away. But I did speak to George about what happened. You did what? He was rather kind about the whole thing. Apologetic, even. He's even been helping us with the move. You told him? Why would you do this? Why would you rat me out? Should I not have? I thought at least one person should know what really happened. Don't worry, he agreed not to tell the guys. But I thought I should at least speak to him about how to handle you. You shouldn't have said anything to him. I was just trying to improve our relationship, since clearly there's something wrong here. But from what I can tell, he seemed to think that whatever it was wasn't me. It was you. I'm inclined to agree. Did you show him our conversations? He asked to see them, so I showed them to him. He seemed rather interested in knowing what had happened specifically and what you said. And he apologized for your behavior and agreed to help us with the move. He was actually a huge help. He recommended some fantastic movers that his friends had used and got us a great rate. Did he really? You have to be lying again. Have I lied to you at all during any of this? I'm sure you did. I'll figure it out. Well, again, you can talk to him yourself. He didn't want to upset you, which is why I imagine he hasn't said anything so far. But if you ask him, I'm sure he'll confirm. He may not be very happy with you, though. So, good luck with that. Wait, fix this. I can't fix what I didn't break. This is your problem. You'll have to sort it out with him. Last time I talked to him, he didn't seem all that happy with you. I can't believe you. Fix this right now. Once George found out about Robin's behavior toward me, things quickly began to fall apart. My in-laws ended up having quite a big fight, which ended with Robin kicking George out of the house. Since we had plenty of space in our beautiful new house by the river, we were glad to take him in. Andrew, as I thought, was shocked and heartbroken to hear about what had happened between me and his mother on the mountain. He was very apologetic and sweet about it, but I could tell he was both sad that I didn't tell him sooner and disappointed and angry with his mother for doing it at all. Daniel soon found out as well, and as far as I know, has stopped talking with Robin less than a week before he is meant to leave for Singapore. I've heard that he's considering uninviting her to the goodbye party that we're throwing for him. Since then, I've been getting quite a few messages from Robin, begging me to fix the problem she caused. Of course, at this point, there is nothing I can do, and, at Andrew's request, I blocked her number. It's unfortunate that this is the way it ended, but my mother-in-law has no one to blame but herself. As for Andrew and I, we've decided we're going to start trying for a baby. Now that we have a beautiful house and have gotten a few things situated, the time feels right. I'll have to step back from some of my work, but I may hand some of the nursing supply business off to others so I can keep up my home care work. I do hope that Andrew can forgive his mother soon and that George can move back in, but we're happy to have him in our new home for as long as he needs. It's not the happy ending I had envisioned for myself, but in some ways, it's more like a fairy tale than I had ever imagined. After all, fairy tales just seem to be filled with evil mothers. I just didn't expect that mother to be my mother-in-law.